This is Sarah, blog editor, and I'm here with AtomikSushi, one of Neo Tokyo's community moderators. This series of interviews is designed to introduce citizens to notable members of the community. So we'll roll right in with AtomikSushi. First of all, welcome. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. It was a struggle to get you guys on. You've been busy. Everyone's busy. I know our moderators are some of the most busy people in Neo Tokyo. But get us rolling with what you did before you got into crypto. What's your background?
I'm an IT administrator during the day. Right now, I'm holding a systems administrator position, focusing on backup and archive systems. I've done a lot of things in my spare time. Wrote a book once. Tried to start a web development company that didn't go super well. I dabble in a lot of things, and I kind of found crypto after around 2 years of trying to start up different, small businesses or find small odd jobs that I could do on the side just to fill up my time because I work too much, and kind of dove into it. It was, when I got into Neo Tokyo, it was like nothing I had ever seen before. The community was just into all sorts of things, and I kind of clicked there, and it was a lot of fun. And then that kind of led me into community management and moderation.
There's a lot going on there. So you wrote a book. Tell me what's the book? We need to know.
It's not a very popular book, nor was it a very well written book. So I'm not going to give you the title, but it's a survival guide on being an IT administrator.
Okay. So not a page turner for the average person.
No, it wasn't highly technical. It was more like you work for a small business as an undervalued employee. Here's how you get through it kind of book.
I like it. Interesting. I have a feeling we're going to be trying to find it here pretty soon. So what was your first introduction to crypto? What actually got you into it?
Well, I don't. Yeah, I do remember, actually. I was in community college at the time, and I was going for programming, and there was this guy that I met, and he was telling me, hey, this crypto stuff's kind of kicking off. You should look at this. And he introduced me to, I think it was XLM. That's a thing, right? It's like less than 20 cents, I think. It was supposed to be hundreds of dollars by now, but it wasn't. So that didn't work out. But I just put, like $50 into it and was like, all right, I'm going to retire on this. Let's see what happens. I didn't understand market caps at the time. And that was the first time I was shilled a crypto coin. So that was fun. But I didn't really get heavily into it after that. I bought some, and I think it was Stellar Wallet, which hasn't really kicked off, but is still around.
Yeah, I got one of those too.
And I kind of revisited a year or two later and looked at it and was like, well, that didn't work. And then I started getting into centralized exchanges and just, trying to flip small amounts. I would buy something. My first big success was VET. I bought, I want to say, a couple $100 of VET. And in 2019, 2020, somewhere around then, whenever Bitcoin first hit 16,000, I think it was around that time that, like tripled or quadrupled in price. And I said, whoa, this is cool. And so I didn't sell it because I thought it was going to go to the moon. That's a trend. And then I kind of dropped off of that for a while. And I got back into it in the summer of 2021, I think that's when it was. After I read about a kid that created the Wacky Whales collection. It's like 10,000 collection of pixelated whales, and the kid made like $150,000 off of that. I said, hey, I need to start doing this. So then I discovered what NFTs were, and I tried to make a few, and I didn't really understand how like the collections and rarities and the individuality aspect of it worked for a while. But, I found like my first crypto community, it was a bunch of grifters, and I didn't understand that at first. And that kind of led me into discovering the clue hunt with Neo Tokyo. And then I went down that rabbit hole, and that's when I really got into it.
Give us that experience. Tell us of your story of getting into Neo Tokyo.
Well, it was pretty nuts. I would stay up late, get up early, barely pay attention at work sometimes, which was okay because my job wasn't super complex as long as I got my work done. whenever I got it done, it was okay. But I would be searching website code for clues and all of the different, websites that they gave out. I joined the Cryptic Crypto community and was working in VC with those guys around the clock. And it was pretty crazy. My wife got pretty mad at me for a little while there and was like, "Why are you doing this? You need to stop. You're being obsessive." And I won that argument in the end, so that was nice. But
oh, you better not say that. You didn't win. She conceded. That's the official.
Well, to be fair, she told me you should sell that thing at the top, and so she throws that in my face a lot, considering we peaked and then went down like everything else does. But the long-term value was totally worth it. And so I was working with Cryptic Crypto to try to decipher riddles and find the mint day website and all that good stuff. And I actually failed to mint, but right before it went live, and one of this guy that was in that community, I don't remember what his name was now. He showed me that on one of the previous preview sites, he had found a link that wasn't supposed to be there in the code, and it wasn't like intentionally put there. I'm pretty sure it was entirely on accident. And so he showed me how to find it, and on mint day, I used that same trick that he showed me, and I found the link to the questionnaire that led to the contract like 30 minutes early. And the Cryptic Crypto community, they helped me answer the questions, and so then I shared the contract with them, and I said, "Woohoo! Look at that, guys! We got it early." And there was like 450 people in that community that managed to mint after that, but I wasn't one of them because I didn't understand Ethereum gas. And I had nowhere near enough money in the wallet to succeed on that. And this guy, he said, "Hey, I actually bought one with 2 wallets, so here, you can have this." And he sent me an identity.
Oh, wow.
So that is the only reason I'm in Neo Tokyo today. Thanks to that guy. He disappeared like 2 months later, never heard from him again.
He's Satoshi, huh? Satoshi of Neo Tokyo.
I guess
well,
so.
That's a good story of getting in. That's a new one that I haven't heard, but I like it. And you're in, and you have been sort of a fixture in Neo Tokyo since as long as I've been there. I know you're the moderator. I know you're there to shut people down. Tell us about how you got the role, kind of what else you do. I know you do a lot inside Neo Tokyo, so give us a rundown of what you do there.
Well, it's not really fun being known as the guy that shuts people down. It didn't start out like that. I was just kind of obsessed with the idea when we first started. And so I would lurk a lot in the chat and just kind of, keep it up on one monitor while I went through my day when I was at a computer. And, if anybody had questions, I would answer them. Or if anybody needed a connection and I knew who they would be connected to, then I said, "Hey, you should talk to this guy." And that kind of turned into people asking me questions directly. And so at one point, Ronan, who was our original administrator moderator, works for Superfarm under the name Puma. He asked me if I wanted to work on the Lunatics, which launched off the Superfarm launchpad. So that was my first experience with moderation and community management kind of style things outside of just being a part of a community. And so I did that for a while, and then Becker hired moderators. And after he hired moderators and Firestorm, I sent Firestorm a message and said, "Hey, if you guys ever need more moderators, I'd be happy to help out." A couple months later, he messaged me and said, "Hey, we're going to hire somebody, so you want it?" And that's kind of how I joined the team. As far as shutting people down, we do a little bit of that. Most of the time, that's supposed to be, helpful to keep traffic going in the right channels, to keep people safe. And sometimes, it stinks. Like people want to drop a link in the Purgatory Club. And even if it's safe, we try to discourage dropping links to random websites or videos or things like that, just because if it becomes normal to have it there in like the main channel, then eventually somebody's going to drop something that is malicious, but nobody thinks it's malicious. And then that's going to get somebody. So stuff like that. trying to resolve conflict, make sure conflict doesn't sit in the main channels is a big thing. If two people are going at it with each other, we just kind of make a thread and tell them to go there and duke it out, but don't duke it out here. Try to keep it a little more on topic and more of a professional environment than that. I will do activity reports for the community leads occasionally, a couple times a year now. Used to do it every month, but it's not as necessary at this moment. Do a little bit of administration. Help set up the Engage bot, stuff like that. I'll tweak Dino occasionally whenever it's needed to do things like make the message in the public chat. A little bit of anything. We collect the feedback from the feedback channels or respond to it now because there's not as much. There used to be people dropping messages in the feedback chat all day, every day. And so we had like a spreadsheet that Zambrini and I would keep up to date and then bring anything that seemed like super important to Firestorm. We do a little bit of that. I escalate things to him whenever there's any big decisions that need to be made. It's kind of the gist of it.
Well, I know I see you in there often, working quite a lot. I know it's a needed role, and I think everyone really appreciates you in there. You do a lot of work. Tell me about. Are you still with Lunatics too?
I am. Yeah,
you are.
Yeah.
I have one.
Yeah,
and I don't hear that project mentioned a lot. I have a Lunatic sitting somewhere in a wallet. Tell me what's going on with that project.
Well, it didn't quite go as planned. So they launched and didn't expect to have nearly the amount of people interested as they did. And so the plan was to launch and then build a pilot. And then once they built a pilot, they were going to shop it around to major studios because the founders are pretty well known in the industry, not by like regular people, but the people in the industry. They have a lot of connections. And so they were going to build this pilot and then go show it to Fox, where one of the founders works there as a vice president of animation. And the other founder is a writer. He's worked on all sorts of stuff. I think biggest name stuff is like NCIS. And he was, I think, an executive producer on Grimm. It might have been some other title, but he worked on Grimm and some other shows. So they know a lot of people, and that was kind of the end goal from the beginning, was to shop it around to studios and then kind of see what happens, see if somebody wants to make a deal, and then they make a season of it and it goes on Netflix or something like that. And so the studio they started working with gave them an estimated completion time, and then 6 months after the estimated completion time, they were nowhere near completion, and so they had a lot of struggle with that studio, and eventually they cut ties with the studio and then took some time to shop for a new one. And at that point, the community had gotten really quiet because people in crypto, they don't have the attention span for something like that. And so then they found a new studio towards the end of last year that has done a lot of big work. And so they got a connection to them through somebody that works on, I think it's Bento Box at Fox, which is I think that's an animation department. And they've been trying to wrap up the pilot episode, and it's just about finished now. Took probably 3 to 4 times longer than they expected, but it's about there. They're working on redoing the audio narration right now, and then just like touching up a couple of last things. And so then it's going to kind of go out into the greater world of animation, and they're going to see what happens from there. I enjoy working with those guys a lot because they're very knowledgeable in their areas. It's kind of been, my role there has kind of been their Web3 translator. So it's like Web2 people that one of them has dabbled in Web3 a little bit, but isn't like super active in it because all he does is work. And the other one is like, how do I turn my computer on some days? So that's been very interesting. I've got to kind of be their guy on the ground, telling them, well, this is something people will like. That's something people won't like. This is something crypto people would respond to. I enjoy working with them.
I'm actually glad to hear you're part of the team. I've been holding my lunar tick for quite a while, and I bought specifically because I looked at the team, and I can't remember it now, but I remember it was a stellar team. But I'm glad someone from Neo Tokyo is in there helping them out. That gives me a little more confidence. I like to see that. Now, aside from what already sounds like a full-time job, helping lunatics and Neo Tokyo, do you have an real life job? Do you have any other projects you're working on? What else are you doing?
Yeah, I do have a real life job. I have been working a lot, doing shifts, going from days to nights, and I'm about to next month start working strictly day shifts. So that's going to be fun. I'll be on a regular sleep schedule again. I've kind of been in a fog for the past year almost, just trying to get through that. I have a whole army of children. I've got 4. They keep me very, very busy.
I bet.
And, I like to dabble. So I help out. A friend of mine has a business. He just sold it, I believe. I've helped him out with his IT work and website, stuff like that for years. I'll get into just about anything, but I've really tried to slow down since I got into the Neo Tokyo and started working with the team there, just because I've got enough to do at this point.
Well, it sounds like you have a ton going on. 4 kids, moderation for 2 pretty large communities, a real job. But give me your main expertise. Like what is something that you really excel at that maybe someone in Neo Tokyo is going to want to reach out to you for advice? We know we're going to reach out to you for conflicts, but how about just general advice, something that you might be able to help people with?
I don't know if this is a marketable skill, but I think I am pretty good at calling out people's bullshit. Kind of like a grifter detection. It's almost like a superpower. I'm not going to name anybody, but I've called out a couple of people pretty early. Aside from that, I'm good with fixing things and being persistent and trying to figure out how to fix things. So technical issues, I'm not a great developer, so I can't really help on that front. But between fixing things and reading people, those are my 2 favorite things to do. I know a lot of people, so if anybody needs to know who to know, that is definitely something I can assist with.
I see Grift Slayer on your X account. And I would call it a marketable skill because it's actually a skill I don't have. I'm one of those people that believes everybody all the time. So I'll know next time to hit you up when I'm trying to figure out if someone's bullshitting me or not. So
I forgot I put that on there. That's fun.
It's a good one. Grift Slayer. I believe I also see Fud Smasher. So I think you've got a few marketable skills there. All right, let's go beyond the metaverse, outside of our digital lives, hobbies, outside interests. You do a lot of work. I don't know if you have time for hobbies, but what do you do with your free time when you have it?
The thing that I like to do to de-stress myself the most is play video games that don't take a lot of effort. I try to keep it at a low enough level that it's not like a regular level of video gaming. I don't want to make that my hobby because I know it's not productive in the long run. It's not something that I'm going to get value back from. So I try not to do too much of it, but it is something I try to work into my schedule just to kind of turn my brain off. I play music, not much anymore, but I do. I used to do it a lot more. That was fun, but kind of not another thing that's not going to give value back to me in the long run. So I don't do much of it anymore. I've recently started trying to fix everything that breaks by myself and not like hire people to do things like that. Because what I found, here's I guess a home ownership thing. What I found is anytime I pay somebody to do something in my house that I don't know how to do, I end up paying them about 3 times more than it would cost me to do it. And then I find that if they screw it up, I end up doing it again anyway. And so I can do it 3 times and screw it up twice before I spend the same amount of money as it costs me to hire someone to do something. So I've been trying to do a lot of that by myself. Other than that, honestly, I just parent a lot. I try to be as active in my children's life as I can. And work is pretty much the biggest thing that takes me away from that. So I try to make up for it by being as present as possible.
It's an important hobby, and that's why we have, what's our channel, Parents of Neo Tokyo? I'd love to see that popping up, because there really are a lot of, full-time parents inside Neo Tokyo doing that job, and it takes a lot of work.
Yeah, that's another thing I would say is a skill I can help out with. I've raised a lot of babies at this point. So if anybody has questions, that's something I can give some advice on.
Hit them up in the parents chat. That's all we have for today. So we're going to wrap this up. This is Sarah, block editor. Today we had AtomikSushi, the Neo Tokyo community moderator, and we will be back next week with another episode.